Okay. I want to know what went on in your mind in the mid 90s in the Denver, with the Denver music community, especially in the underground. You're like, you know what? I want to find original music of who I don't know, and I want to be part of it. What got you going?
So absolute credit has to go to Love 45.
Hmm.
I'm an 80s girl, obviously. Love the 80s stuff, goth, punk,
Hmm.
hair metal, real metal, hair metal, whatever. I went to see LA Guns reunion or whatever
Hmm.
show. I can't even remember the venue. I don't think it existed long. Love 45 played as Undertow. That was before they changed their name.
Hmm.
And I stuck around after because I was like, oh my God, these guys, like, I don't remember the LA Guns part of the show. I remember the
Sure.
Love 45 part of the show because they were so magnetic and dynamic. And I was like,
Hmm.
what the fuck is this? Right.
Right.
So I was really geeked up. And at the time, I was working at a company and I ended up talking to another woman who worked there around the same age. And she really liked underground music,
Hmm.
local music. And we started talking. I talked to her about Love 45. And somehow between the two of us, we're like, there are no resources for local music. And this was,
Hmm.
obviously before everybody had a web page, everybody had a web magazine and everything. So we're like, there's Westward, but, and I love Westward. Like,
Hmm.
this is totally not a dig on them, but they were on this tier of bands, and I wanted to know about the up and comers. I wanted
Right.
to know. I've always loved the underdogs. That's why I do cat
Sure.
rescue now. It's why I wanted to do local music then. So she had a little more technical knowledge than I did, and we said, let's do a web magazine. And it just kind of was born out of love, going to see some other bands together and like, let's fucking do this. Let's just, this
Hmm.
doesn't exist. Let's make it exist.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what happened. She ended up leaving. This is horrible. I don't actually remember what happened. It wasn't like a falling out or anything, but she ended up
Hmm.
leaving. And I had to learn HTML real quickly because she'd been doing all of that. I was more the PR because she was shyer. And so, yeah, it was great. It was, it just kind of happened. I think maybe Maris would probably say it was meant to happen.
Sure.
And one thing, I've been thinking about it a lot, since you reached out to me. And the biggest thing I have to say, and obviously love of the music is what kept it going.
Hmm.
And then being on the board of directors for Colorado Music Association, being on the ground floor of that being created,
Right.
being offered the job at Westward. The one of the best things in my life is Laura Bond reaching out and saying, I didn't know there was a job, but she reached out and said, hey, we have this job. And I thought of you. Like, that was
Right.
huge. She's amazing.
Right.
And I wouldn't even be in California if I hadn't gotten into the local music scene because someone from the metal scene, I don't know if you remember Tiffany Farringer.
God, that's a name I haven't heard in a long
Yeah, so I
time.
still talk to her. She and I got really close because of the metal scene, and she moved out. She got a job in San Francisco. I came out with her. I visited her a couple times, and it was so beautiful out here. I suddenly decided I want to move to California, and
Mhm.
then so I wouldn't have even known about like how beautiful it is here because I'd never been to Northern California. And then my friend Sharon Riggs, who was in Boom Chick, who was in Wrath of Sharon, she said, oh, my old boss has a company out there and got me a job. And it was that. Like,
Right.
so I wouldn't be here even. I wouldn't have had my California adventure without the music scene. And it was my life. It was my
Wow.
life. I mean, it didn't pay a lot of bills,
Right. Sure.
but I met so many amazing people. And I think, as I've been really re-immersing myself the past couple of weeks in preparation for this, what really stands out is how amazing people in the local music scene
Hmm.
are and were. I mean, I think I've mentioned I'm moving back to Denver soon.
Right.
Um, and I am really excited to check out the band. I know some bands are still there.
Sure.
Um, I see that Siren Project is still around and
Hmm.
some of the other bands.
I have something on the Siren Project. We'll talk about it a little bit later.
Okay, I
Continue.
haven't talked to her like, in depth in a while, but I'm looking
Mhm.
forward to seeing her again. So many people were so amazing. I mean, here we were, two young girls. I think we were maybe 25-ish.
Hmm.
And knew nothing. I can't read music, right? Like
Hmm.
I dicked around in a, high school band,
Hmm.
where we played in a garage a couple of, we never played out or anything.
Hmm.
So we didn't have any like formal education or anything.
Sure.
But we had a passion and an understanding of, kind of what sells and what's dynamic. Not and obviously a passion to learn. And so many people were so fucking nice. So
Hmm.
many people were so nice when they really had no reason to be nice. And
Hmm.
I was thinking about Jeff Johnson, right?
Yep. Hmm.
Amazing sound guy,
Hmm.
amazing guy. Like
Hmm.
he had no reason to, it didn't benefit him to take us under his wing and show us
Hmm.
stuff or be so cool. But so many people were so amazing and awesome. And I think it's so great. I don't know how it is today, right? Like I haven't
Right.
been to a Denver show in quite some time, but I would hope it's still that same welcoming, amazing community, immersive vibe
Sure.
because it was magical. So I'm so
Right.
glad you're doing this.
I All right, let's scale back because I've wanted to talk about Love 45 with someone in a position to know. I remember when I saw them for the first time at the Bluebird and they did a cover of the Beatles' Help. I'm
Yeah,
like, why aren't these people signed yet? Then they have
I
that
know.
fabulous song, I Don't Want to Be Your Superhero. I'm like, these guys are fucking amazing.
Yeah. They
And
are. They are. Their songs tight, very emotional, catching. They really, I think they had a lot of magic. I think, and I'm sure you'd agree, and I'm sure pretty much everyone you've had on the podcast will agree, it's not about talent. It's not about how good your songs are or
mhm,
it's about opportunity, knowing the right
mhm.
people, being in the right place at the right time. Some
Okay.
of the bands, and I'm not going to trash talk anyone, but some of the bands
No.
that have come out of Denver to hit national, like
Mhm.
real fame, I don't think are as good as the bands,
Well,
some of the bands who haven't.
I'm on record saying Love 45 should have been bigger than the Fray.
Absolutely.
I
The Fray and Lumineers combined.
Right, I agree. Now, here's what bothers me so bad about Love 45. Because if you recall, Bill Terrell kind of did a little networking for Three Doors Down to get Love 45 in. And it's just like, all you have to do is be in the studio, press record, let them do their thing, and make some money.
Oh,
And
I
and,
know
and
where you're
they
going.
and they botched it. And the producers botched it. As a result, I'll never listen to Three Doors Down ever again.
Same,
Right.
absolutely.
Right. And I'm just kind of like, these guys had the greatest thing going. And I remember, they did a reunion show at the Copper Rail in Brighton back in 2011. And that's when I was living there. And Chris Romero, he played with his own band. He played with George Lynch. He played with the Van Halen band Romeo
Yeah, yeah,
Delight. And there was posters for Love 45. I said, Chris, that's the band that should have made it out of Denver. He says, you're absolutely right. And I remember
absolutely.
seeing them, and I'm like,
So
this
good.
is wrong. They should be headlining freaking Red Rocks.
Absolutely. And yeah, and I have absolutely agree with the tragedy that happened when they were being worked on by Three Doors Down. It took the soul out of their music. It took that heart, that passion, that emotion, the thing that made them Love
Mhm.
45, the thing that made them magical.
Right.
It just producerized them into homogeny.
Right.
Wasn't even recognizable.
I'm just like, why?
I
Why?
know. I know.
Why? And on that note, let's, going back, what was another band that you brought up? It's escaping me at the moment. Oh yeah, Siren Project. Um,
Lovely.
Alex from the Siren Project does the best impersonation of me better than anybody I've ever known.
Oh, how funny.
Oh, and Margaret, well, they rehearsed that sound structure off 31st and Walnut, and
Right.
so did I for a couple of years. And the best landlord, John Burr, you had to till the 10th of the month to pay, and if you paid on time for a year, you got tickets to the Avalanche.
Oh, I didn't
Best
know that.
best
That's
studio
awesome.
landlord of all time. It wasn't as adventurous as the DAV, which I
Hey, there weren't enough rehearsal spaces at the DAV for everybody, so there had to be
Yeah,
other
there is.
stuff.
Ain't that true? But the one thing I will say is that with the Siren Project is that Margaret, just what they were doing was unlike anybody else.
Yeah, yeah, very different, but very captivating, very
Right. And I'm just like, why isn't more mean made of this? You know, And I was really doing that. And here's another band, Catalina, that I thought didn't get the attention it would deserve was Offering 74.
Hmm.
I just thought what they did was unique. There weren't much to look at on the stage, and they admit that. They're pretty stationary, but it's just like they, they sounded like nobody else. I
Yeah, it
would
was
take
Don's voice, I think. Don had an
oh, it
amazing
was Don's
voice.
voice. See, I would take dates to Offering 74 and SFA shows.
Oh,
With Marilyn
SFA. I
Dawn knowing me.
love. I still have the biggest girl crush on Marilyn Taylor. I can't wait to see her perform once I move back because she's,
She's doing doing Pink as well as Alanis Morissette. And
yep.
just
Yeah.
I just okay. They opened for King's X at the Bluebird one night. And
Hmm.
I took my girlfriend to see him, and I knew Scott Dankel, the bass player. Him and I just had a great rapport. Marilyn will be like, "Hey, Marilyn, how you doing?" I'm like, "Okay," doing that. And Marilyn gave me a shout on the stage. This song's for Ty. This is Wake, and my girlfriend at the time just got intimidated. I'm like, Marilyn's not going home with us, dear. She's not. She's not going home with us.
She's just a wonderful person.
Well,
She's definitely got that magical aura about her.
let's talk about being a woman in the music circuit. Now, in a male-dominated genre, obviously like rock and metal, where it's so male dominated, what did were women treated differently for better or for worse? Were there some exclusions? Was there some inclusions? Were there benefits? Were there drawbacks? What was that like?
Um, I think a little all of the above. And I can be a little naive as far as ulterior motives. I'm the kind of person that if you pretend to be my friend, I believe you.
Sure.
Um, so which, for better or for worse. The thing I remember the most is having to learn to be really careful with around band member girlfriends.
Okay.
So that was really where, I mean, because I don't feel like, oh, like, the band members aren't all like, oh my God, I'm going to hit on you or anything. I didn't feel like a lot of that. And I could have been oblivious. Like that's, because I'm
Sure.
there for X, not for dates.
Right.
Um, but the biggest thing I had to conscientiously think about was interacting with band members when their girlfriends were around because
Mm,
I had to really calculate how to make sure to convey without saying anything, obviously.
mm,
Um, I am not here to hit on your man. I'm
right.
not after your man. I don't, you get to go home with him. I don't care. So it would be a lot of one of the things was, and it's funny because as I gained weight, that got easier. Um, but making sure like if I'm talking to you or
Mm,
if I want to talk to you and your girlfriend is next to you, I'm
mhm.
looking at your girlfriend. I'm
Okay.
talking to you, but I'm looking at your girlfriend
Interesting.
so that she knows she feels more secure. She
Mm,
knows, hey, this is not a conversation about hitting on him. She's not coming here to pretend I don't exist,
mm,
to just come off as not threatening because
mm,
I didn't have any intention to be threatening. um so that was that's actually the biggest thing I remember about being a girl. I also think there was a lot of advantage. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes cleavage helps.
sure.
Um, I'm not gonna pretend it doesn't sometimes.
Sure.
I also think it helped be less, I don't know, threatening. Like there wasn't that machismo threatened, right? Because none of the guys were
Sure.
threatened that I was taking something away from them or trying to be more of a draw or more attention seeking than them. So I think it's also easier to be nice to a girl who not, I mean, I didn't act dumb by any means, but who doesn't I don't have a threatening aura.
Right. Okay. Let me. I'm going to share something with you, and it's just that, Keith Spargo from Silencer, one of my closest friends, he got me in this thing, and in this whole thing. And back in '97, I met Gil and Dawn from Offering 74 before they officially called themselves in that, and they were a couple right off the bat, and I knew that.
Yeah.
And Dawn Cheers became the fastest sister in history. She became a sister so bleeping fast. But I'm going to say this. There was a website called longhairedmen.com, and Gil was
Hmm.
growing his hair out, and there was an ad for him. And
Oh, how
I'm
funny.
like, it's aren't Gil and Dawn together, and every time they go with the, and Gil and Dawn, they never acted like a couple being together, and I'm like, huh, what? Now I remember getting his project, and I had a conversation with Gil. I'm like, what the fuck's up with this? He's like, oh, we were trying to draw more people to draw more people.
Sure.
I'm like, huh,
I mean, that makes
what?
sense. That makes sense. And Dawn was pretty confident. She was pretty secure,
Yeah, she was. I'll tell you
and it
this.
takes a confident woman to do that.
Here's another fun story. You remember the Zone in Littleton?
Absolutely.
Okay, as I remember, you did a couple of signs. Offering 74 did their CD release that night, one night. Yeah, I think you were there, if
Uh-huh.
I recall. And Mark Grabowski from Corruption,
I
I
love
learned a
Mark.
very valuable lesson because he went up and helped sing the final song and over and over and over. I originally thought it was called Get Out. It wasn't. Gil corrected me with that. And Mark kissed Dawn on the cheek, and she just looked repulsed. And I just Okay, now here's the lesson I got. Don't touch Dawn. If Dawn wants a hug, she'll hug you. And there was one gig at the
Dawn's
Bluebird.
tough.
There was a gig afterwards at the Bluebird where basically Keith Spargo's girlfriend completely destroyed my date. I won't get into specifics. She walked out. I was torqued. I was mad. I watched Offering 74 play their set. Then outside, Don's like, "Hey Ty, where's your date?" I'm like, "Keith Spargo's girlfriend completely deep sixed my evening." She's like, "Sorry, Ty, you can't win them all. Get out of here." And she gave me a hug. That's the only hug I ever got in my history with Don. So the moral of the story, I learned through Mark, don't touch Don.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mark was very sweet to me. Mark was
Oh,
always very sweet.
Mark doesn't have an evil bone in his body.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the Rick Shaw broadcast of Corruption set last June.
Mm-mm.
But actually, I'll level with you. Nick Student, I think you're aware he died in 2024. His
Yeah.
death bothered me very badly
Yeah,
because
I'm sorry.
he's the best drummer I ever saw. I think that I say this with respect to Neil Peart and Mike Portnoy's and all that, and they're great drummers. Nick was right up there amongst them. And when he died, I never knew him to have bad habits. So when he checked out so soon, I'm like, the world, you know, Nick Student's legacy of just versing in his music is in great danger of being forgotten if someone doesn't do something. And I thought, Nick's death, and we're going to see Mark later this month, and
Yeah,
what
I saw that.
maybe Sean Beeson, and just it's just like Nick's the best drummer I ever saw.
Yeah, and I think I've said for, well, I guess decades now that like the best guitarist in the world is some guy playing at a corner bar, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
nobody's ever heard of because like we were talking about earlier, talent does not ensure success. It doesn't ensure, you know, ensure fame. It doesn't ensure any of that. The best guitarist in the world is probably someone we have not and never will hear of. Even the best guitarist in the state, right, is probably
Mm-hmm.
not the guy who's selling out a major arena.
Agreed.
And I mean, and I know you'll agree that like the people who are selling out the major arenas, not necessarily the best talented musicians, right? A lot of times it's the show, and that's just, that's why they call it show business, not talent business, right?
Right. Okay. Let me get onto the internet. And I because when we were along the same age, and when the mid 90s came, dial-up internet showed up. For me, I'm like, I'm not sure what to do with it yet. I didn't fully embrace dial-up internet till like 1997 and 1998. And I'm like, well, what's this supposed to do to things? Then, you started up Denver
Interesting.
Music Plus. when you just when did you discover the internet? Did you fear it or did you embrace it? And Denver Music Plus, how did that come about to you? What was
The
your
internet,
experience?
wow. So I I embraced the internet as soon as I could afford the internet.
Sure.
I had a computer 92,
Hmm.
91, 92. I'm trying to remember.
Hmm.
Um, And so remember when the AOL discs were big? So
Sure
this was
do.
before that. There was a thing
Right.
called Prodigy.
Prodigy. Yep.
Yes. So I even had you didn't see people or anything, obviously. So I was on Prodigy and developed, internet friends as one does, even had a long distance relationship, moved in with the
hmm
guy and stuff. So I was really, and then AOL kind of took it a step further. And then, so I got a computer in Denver. Yeah, I was poor. I was poor the whole time I was in Denver. I mean, I'm
hmm
not rich now, but,
Right.
I was really poor. My mom had money set aside for my future wedding, and I convinced her to let me buy a computer with it instead. I'm like,
hmm
let's gamble on the thing that's gonna happen.
Right. Right.
So that's how I had a computer to do Denver Music Plus. And like I said, the woman I met through where I was working, she had some HTML knowledge. So that's, this is before there was, what was it, like Arachne something or
hmm
whatever. So we hand coded that HTML when we started.
Right.
Hand
That-
coded it.
okay. All right. When it came to the internet and music, and we were both on the Colorado Metal E list. And
Hmm.
by the way, Guy Kendall has touched base, by the way.
Yes. He's
Okay.
such a great guy.
I think we will see him March 1st. But
Awesome.
anyways, going back to it, I didn't know if the internet was going to be a musician's friend or foe. I didn't know, but when Napster happened, in '99 and Metallica had that
Uh-huh.
big old hissy, I'm like, to me, I'm just kind of like, you know, physical copies of music may be eventually rendered extinct. When that Napster thing happened and you saw that, what was your take on how that could affect music?
I was more intrigued. I didn't have like a decision. I was like, let's see where this goes. I think too Prince, when they were like, busting his balls over his name and his copyright, and he had to change his
Mm,
name to the symbol because of contract stuff. Um, but I definitely was excited, through all of this, through I mean, bands get fucked right now from
mm,
streaming and everything. I have a
mm,
close friend who's a recording engineer in Nashville. So,
mm.
I'm like, how much are they getting paid now?
Right.
Uh, so I knew that it had the potential to really help bands reach such a bigger audience.
hmm
And of course, it was in such infancy in the period that we're talking about. You still had to go, you had to email for press kits, right? Like kids today, but it's just, in our era, MTV, right? You had to wait for MTV to play the video you want.
hmm
Now, and just the idea that, like Facebook and Instagram and, all these things that you can connect with these bands. Like
hmm
I have national bands who wish me happy birthday on Facebook. That blows 15-year-old me's mind,
hmm
right? So yeah, the internet is amazing for music now. It's it's great for reaching audiences.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I think it can also make it harder to monetize because things
Mhm.
are out there, right? Which
Right.
I think, and I don't know that Metallica necessarily did it in the right way, but you should be paid for your art, right?
hmm
And I don't want to get started on the AI bullshit now, but you should get paid for your art. You should get, there's just no way around it. You should get paid for your art, and bands getting, pirating is so weird. And talking to, my recording engineer friend about, oh, if I download this song from a pirating something instead of buying it here, you
hmm
know, can I just mail the band $1? Because they're
Right.
going to get less than that from the streaming service, right? Like, and
hmm
I would rather it go directly to the band.
Right.
So that's and then we're also seeing now with the streaming media that it goes away. You don't own anything, right? So now
Right.
I'm like, oh crap, I got rid of all when I've moved a lot, and I've gotten rid of most of my physical CDs and I think all of my DVDs.
hmm
Um, so without going dark web, some of that stuff you're like, well, but I want it and I will pay for it, but now I can't have it.
Right.
Um, so yeah, so I think it definitely has made it amazing for musicians and audiences to connect with each other. I think it's sad how it's impacted negatively the ability for bands to monetize, for artists to monetize.
Well,
And they've always been screwed, right? Recording
mm,
companies screwed them too, but I think they get screwed even more now because
mhm,
it's not just one entity screwing you, right?
right. Okay. Let me ask you, and I've asked this everybody on the visual podcast, and now it's your turn.
Yeah.
Where do you see music in the year 2100, and what role will AI have a part in it?
Ugh. I'm a little doomsayer on this, I'm gonna tell you.
No, go
I
for it.
hate I hate being doomsayer, but I hope we still have artists. I hope we still have real musicians. I mean,
Hmm.
I know the stuff that we hear on the radio, 99% of it is auto tune. I
Hmm.
mean, shit, if auto tune had been around when I was younger, I'd be a household
Right,
name now, right?
right.
Uh, but uh, I want to have hope. And I guess, okay, so I guess when I think about it, like AI terrifies me because, and not just because of the Terminator movies, right?
Sure, of
But
course.
because I see how many of my friends are like, I use Chat GPT to write my school paper. I use Chat GPT to write this. I use
Mhm.
Chat GPT to do my work for me. And I'm like, I want Chat GPT. I want people. I want music that's
Right.
produced by people. I want movies with people. I want books written by people. So I guess my hope would be that the I don't even know what you call it now, Gen
Gen Z.
Delta, maybe.
Hmm.
Let's go Gen Delta, right
Hmm.
out there, that those
Right.
people are gonna go back to analog, that they're gonna be like, no, fuck all this AI shit.
Hmm.
Fuck all this, everything is pre-calculated, written by androids, by clankers.
Right.
That fuck this. I want to see some dude on an acoustic guitar,
Hmm.
maybe a microphone, maybe, I don't want this overproduced, homogenized, you know, throw paint on you know, on a backlit wall. I don't want this AI stuff. I want the real. There's a movie, I don't know, the amazing movie. Have you seen Sinners? Um,
Not yet.
okay, you gotta see Sinners. And this isn't a spoiler, but there's a scene where in I don't know, like let's say the year 2000 or whatever, and one guy says to like an old timer musician about like, I don't like the new stuff, I like the real. Can you still, the real, the
Hmm.
acoustic, the real, the soul, right? The music that
Right.
comes from the soul, because that's if music isn't doesn't come from the soul, can it really connect to your soul?
Yeah, that's a valid point. Now, here's something the way I see music with AI in the 2100. The corporate level AI is going to be a big part, but there's going to be the people like you and me who're like, no, 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 fuck AI. We want it to be real. But
Yeah.
my podcast with Peace, Love, and Destruction, because the Marlet brothers, they're
Mhm.
twins, they're Adonises. They were complete show. They put on great shows. But I asked them, and they were honest about it. I'm like, wouldn't you be tempted to have an AI drummer and bass player? Just say, just don't question us. Just play
Not the
what you're
rhythm
told.
section.
But but could you blame them for at least not pondering, entertaining the part because they were the carriers of the band. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but
And I mean, that's what happens now, right? Like you've
right,
got the bands out there where
right.
it's the millies
They,
and the vanillies.
right. Now, of course, they didn't go through with that, obviously, and other whatnot.
Sure.
But it's just like some artists. I think about Bon Jovi, John Bon Jovi, that in the year 21, whoever that John Bon Jovi is, because Bon Jovi just has one member, just him. Everybody else are paid employees. Right.
What happened to Richie Sambora?
No, actually, he's a paid employee. Tico Torres, paid employee. You know, all employees, but it's just like for a solo artist, to be tempted to just have AI be in a backup band, you have to at least think about it. The thought has to cross your mind. Doesn't mean you do it. It just means the thought has to come across. But I think there are artists
Yeah.
that are going to simply say, "Fuck AI with a big rubber dick in the year 2100. We're going to make this feel real." And I think it's going to be in the underground. And one of the intentions of this archive is for people in the year 2100 to watch all this content because we're not all that different. We're not that different than they are. The technology is
Right.
advanced. but when it comes to people, we're the same as they are.
I'm young enough. I'll still be around.
2100. All right, money's on you. And if you're around for that, for all the people watching this content, you can just simply say, "I remember when Ty was Silencer's water boy." By the way, I earned that
I
nickname.
absolutely don't recall saying that, but
No,
I apologize.
no, no, you don't have to say sorry. Because let me put you like this. I when I was managing Silencer for that, in that initial phase, I was learning how to play bass again. Because I'm just like, I know what I want to do. I want to do this, so I might as well just help a close friend of mine out while I learn and get better and meet people. That's why I did that. But again, that said, it's just the era we were in before the internet really took off, before social
Yeah.
media ruled us, and camera phones. Camera
Oh my
phones,
gosh.
they
Yeah. Right.
it's like we almost can't imagine living without them these days, and imagine what the year 2100 is going to look like. But we
Oh
lived
yeah. It's
without
going to
these
be
at
in our iris.
one point in time. And I think that
Yeah.
era for music, when we went to see a show, we went to see a show.
Yes. Yes. Instead of recording a show.
Yeah, instead of recording a show or other whatnots. And we were the last great generation to experience that, to me.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. We were the last generation where you actually held up a lighter, right? For
Hmm.
the slow song.
Right. You betcha. You betcha. Amongst your favorite venue, well, okay, not counting Gothic Bluebird or Ogden Theater, your if you could pick three venues, you know, for music, what would the three venues be?
Uh, you wouldn't even have to exclude those. I mean, those are great venues, but God, I miss Cricket on the Hill.
Me
It's
too.
going to kill me living in Denver again and not going to Cricket on the Hill.
Hmm.
For national shows, I loved the Paramount.
Cool.
That's where I
Yep.
saw In Excess.
Hmm.
And it was the last show before Michael Hutchence died. And it was so beautiful and intimate. I saw Sebastian Bach there and I got to touch his hair.
Right.
Because that's really the important part of Sebastian Bach. Um, so let's say Paramount, Cricket on the Hill. I really, I think emotionally, I don't know. Everyone says Herman's Hideaway, so I hate saying the thing that everyone else says. I loved Herman's Hideaway because I loved Sharon.
Sure.
Loved Sharon. Um, hmm. That last one is tough.
Hmm.
I guess I'll give it to Herman's because I mean I liked
Sure.
Ilifts and
Okay.
X and I mean it has been a little while. I loved Bill Terrell's venue.
Hmm.
There was a newer one. There were Ritz. I pulled some stuff, but now I don't recall.
We won't worry.
Um,
We're not gonna we're not gonna worry about that.
but yeah,
We're gonna see
definitely.
each other again. You're like
Yeah, yeah.
all the catch up. Oh, by the way, here's a confession. Sebastian Bach at the time would have been the only guy I would have gone gay for.
You're not alone, I'm sure.
He's he's like perfect. We're gonna save all the Maris stuff and
Sure.
until Saturday because I know you have a lot to say about it, but we're gonna wait till then.
Yeah, no problem.
No, I'm good. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, one of the final points, just if what were some, name me name me two people that to this day you're friends with and you're grateful they made a big difference to you, not just in music, but in life.
And I'm not including Maris because Maris would be number one.
Right. Let's not include Maris. Maris not included
Oh, from the music scene.
from the music scene.
Wow.
They made a profound impact.
Um, hmm. Well, Love 45, obviously. I mean,
Right.
can I include them as one
Yeah,
entity?
sure. Definitely.
Um, I probably only really talk to Danny anymore because I don't think Mickey's on Facebook. I still talk to Marsha Kent Davis.
Okay.
Um, Margajata from Siren Project for sure.
Hmm.
Um, it's hard not to use Maris. Let me
Yeah.
Alex, let's do Alex Tights from Femme Music.
Oh,
for
cool.
sure. I see him every time I'm out.
Hmm.
Definitely had a huge impact. And she's not in Denver anymore, of course. Oh, I know. Jeff Campbell,
Hmm.
Apostle.
Okay.
I've seen two of his most recent plays. I don't know if you're familiar with any of the stuff he's been doing, but definite
Right.
shout out to him, the Emancipation Theater. Erica Brown's involved with him, but
Hmm.
I'm really one of the things I'm excited to do is kind of reconnect with Jeff more
Hmm.
when I move back and try to like volunteer where I can in his projects because I think he's doing amazing, important work
Cool.
um, for Denver stuff. I didn't know like he did one play about like the Denver like jazz blues like
Hmm.
all the people who used to play down in Five Points, and I didn't know
Right.
any of that. So he's really connecting like Denver history, Denver people of color, and all of that, and huge, huge thing. So, yeah, I'm still in contact with Jeff, and so much respect and admiration for him.
Hmm.
Um, so that would definitely be another big one. Dolly Zander,
Hmm.
that was on the Colorado Music Association. Oh, and we haven't talked about her. I know you had brought it up in our preliminary conversations, but Barb Dye.
Barb died, of course.
Um, she um, she had more energy than me at however much, and I love her. I don't know how she is, but she put me to shame. I'd be like, oh, it's 3 a.m. I want to go to bed. And she'd be like, one more show.
Right.
And, she really, I don't know what like mystical pact she has with the devil or something to have so much energy still, but she's amazing and really has a lot of strength that left an impact on me.
Oh, oh, a final topic. I had this on my list. You wrote, you at least wrote for Euphony Music News, didn't you?
I did. I forgot. I
Yeah,
forgot Euphony
we're gonna end this.
existed.
We're gonna finish with Bonita Burger because you were there. I remember, and I wanted to give Joe Candelario credit for it, and I originally did. Then he said, "No, I didn't do that." There was a band called Thousand Foot God.
Yeah, I remember them.
And they had an album called Louder Than Jesus.
Did I
And
date that drummer?
I don't, I, I, I don't know. I don't know, but I remember the review Euphony gave. It says, "Louder than Jesus Christ, this really sucks." And
Oh, then I definitely didn't date anyone in that band.
right.
Uh,
I just remember it's like, they say don't believe anything you hear and only half what you see. And I just heard when, it was Joe
that
Candelario that said that. And it's like,
sounds like me.
yeah, I'm not trying to diss them, but it's like, we didn't hear much from them after that, and there must have been a really good reason for that.
Because yeah, if I
But
said that, they sucked.
all right. Here's my thing on Bonita, because Barb Dye gave me a lot of back copies of Euphony, and I really appreciated what Bonita was trying to do.
Yes.
But she was talking out of both sides of her mouth. It's like support me, but yet I want your money. I'll help you, but I
Yeah.
want your money too. One of the magazines, she would just say, I can get you listened to. But also give me money. If you're not any good, give me money. And I just thought it was only a matter of time before someone bit back at her about it. That happened to be Bill Terrell.
Yeah. Yeah. Bonita. So I kind of came in at the end of Bonita's reign, as you may
Right,
call it. And a lot of how I met people in the music scene was I'd talk to one person, they'd be like, "Oh, well, you got to meet so and so," and that's how I met Bonita. Like I didn't
right.
know her beforehand or anything. I think I had an article, maybe one or two in Euphony. I don't really remember. It wasn't long after I connected with Bonita that she moved,
Right.
and I haven't talked to her since. And she was pretty nice to me, but I think and I'm not trying to disparage her at all, but I
No,
remember being confused about her motives. Was she
right.
trying to promote bands? Was she trying to sleep with bands? Was she trying to make money? Was she trying to
Hmm.
further her, you know what I mean? I
Right.
was very, and I know to the best of my knowledge, she and Barb Dye had a falling out before I met either one of them.
Right.
And I think Barb Dye had much purer motives. Barb Dye was a
Right.
fan. She wasn't trying to get, I'm not, I know some people would say something like, oh, Barb did this or that, which whatever, but
Right.
Barb was not out to get people. And
Right.
I could see why some people thought that about Bonita. She was always very kind to me, and I want to make
Right.
that clear. But I absolutely see I absolutely see people's opinion of that and why Bill
Oh,
Terrell would write back. And Bill
but-
Terrell was nice to me eventually.
right.
He was, I think he was a kind of a hard ass. And I know he talks a lot about his, his struggles and his dates, and I totally respect him for that.
Mm,
So it was probably depending on which day I saw him,
sure.
whether he liked me or he didn't. But he was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to me. When he was having national bands, I remember I had the longest conversation with Steven Adler, all
Mm,
thanks to Bill Terrell just calling me up and saying, "Hey, this national band's going to be here. Do you want to come talk to them?"
sure.
So I have nothing but good things to say about Bill, but he didn't put up with a lot of bullshit.
No, he did. Here's why I brought this up is because the Blitz Room advertised on Euphony.
Mm-hmm.
They bought the back page.
Right, right.
That paid the bills. Then Bonita, there was a conflict of interest for Bonita Burger to even review the Rogue CD in the first place.
Agree. Yeah, yeah.
Complete conflict of interest. And John Bollock and everybody will agree the first CD wasn't all that great and other whatnots doing that. But Bonita tried having it both ways, and it came back to bite her in the ass.
Yeah, yeah. You can't review someone you're taking money from.
Right.
I mean,
That's
you
right.
can. That's how a lot of things work, but you shouldn't. You
Right.
shouldn't.
Well, I'm going to say this. Rod Brown for Throw Culture Magazine.
I know, Rod.
Of course, we love Rod. It's just like Rod would review bands, but Rod would review bands, but Boyd, the Fox brothers, Brent and Boyd, would
Oh,
just say,
I love those guys.
"Yeah," and we wish they were a part of this, but they're not. But the the big thing is just that the Fox brothers learned from that euphony situation. It's simply saying it's like, look, it's like if we want you to advertise with us, but if you want to get your CD reviewed, it's be like, hey, we're going to be brutally honest that way too. They were up front,
Yeah,
and
yeah, for
that's
sure.
and that's one thing I'll give Rod, the Fox brother, and Nick Jackson, Throw Culture Magazine, and we'll talk more on there. And I'll give my first question to
I found
you.
one I'm in.
Yeah, you know, and just the one thing we're definitely going to talk about this upcoming Saturday, I'll probably one of your lead-ins. I remember Maris the Great saying, "Thanks to Catalina Soltero for her assistance." We will
Oh.
talk. We will talk about that. Also, let me go ahead and stop recording here. I'm set.